What up? It's your boy, the Incredible Man. And this is Fire Force episode 23 discussion / review, man. And I'm going to be 100%. I was not prepared. I was not prepared for the wonderful, glorious, just supercalifragilisticexpialidociousness of this episode. I had to go get the word from Mary Poppins to explain how excited I was about this episode because I was not prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, or nothing for this episode. After last week's episode, we was already on high alert. I did not expect this episode to come in like a train and bombard my mind, my heart, and everything, and just mess everything up for me, man. I did not expect this. And for those people, like I said in, I want to say last week's discussion review, those people that didn't want to give Fire Force a chance, whether they felt like it just really wasn't for them or they didn't want to fall into the hype and not watch it, you're missing out. Yeah, the whole beginning parts of the episodes and everything, like I said last week, they were still trying to find some footing and trying to really get it set and going. But they are there now. They made a staple with this episode for me. All of these previous leading up episodes with the raid on the Nether and the Evangelist was good. But this episode hit way different. This episode was heavy. I know I say heavy a lot in a lot of my reviews because I really can't explain it because I feel like heavy is just like the only word that can really do it because so much it happens and it bombards you and it's heavy. So we pick up right after last week's episode, and I thought it was just going to be like a recap of everything that happened last week, but it was like a mini continuation of the fight. And we saw like a different side and different aspect of it because it wasn't the actual fight. It was just them kind of linked up through the Adola burst and everything going on. And we see all of these emotions and memories flooding Sho's head from Shinra. And after a while, Sho starts to believe it and remembers and everything because we know, watching it, we know that his memory was either wiped or just like buried deep inside. And watching Sho's memories brought back all of those feelings and everything of Shinra. I mean, watching Shinra's memories brought back all of those feelings of Shinra and his mom and everything when he was a baby. It brought back all of that. And I teared up over here with Sho, man. I was honestly crying because remember, for the longest, like we couldn't break through the wall that they had built up at all, and we weren't feeling nothing. He wasn't feeling nothing. Like we didn't have any kind of connection. He was like, "No, you're not my brother. Quit trying to stop me and do all this brotherly stuff. You're not my brother." But this episode, we got that connection, and it was broken through the Adola burst and the Adola link. And I'm like, okay, because I'm over here very emotional with Sho. Like, yeah, man, I see you, man. You got your brother back. Y'all finally a family because Shinra never gave up. And then, I don't know if anybody else caught it, but within those memories, just before the chick interrupted, I want to say her name was Haumea or something like that. Just before she interrupted their whole connection, and we realized that she made Sho stab Shinra. I mean, she made Sho stab Shinra. Yeah, I said it right. Okay. We see in the past, like while the fire is surrounding Sho when he was an infant, we saw the Evangelist talking to him. But we also saw another little baby or little girl sitting there, and that was her. I didn't think it was her at first. I thought it might have been the Evangelist trying to mess with him, but it was actually her because I remember the little golden crown mask thing that she had. And now knowing what her powers are, her and the Evangelist both had to kind of mess with Sho's mind and mess everything up to make him not remember or think like or forget about his whole family and everything, because we saw her powers this episode, and Shinra made that connection with Sho, and Sho was like devastated when he realized and he snapped out of it that Shinra was actually stabbed, and he was going to break down again. But she came in and she started talking about all this other stuff, and Sho was like, well, give me answers. Is this true? And he wanted to know everything. And I'm so happy that he did. But in that moment, she kind of touched at him with her powers because it's like electricity, fire. Like, she's still a pyrokinetic, but like it's like electricity. And she didn't alter his memory this time, but like she kind of just made him kind of like a walking zombie. Like he was just zoned out and he just started walking on his own to go with the other guy to leave. And so her powers kind of can maybe with the evangelist, that's how they altered Sho's memories, but or kind of just wiped out his memories in general. But we also saw that she tried to make Arthur move, and it didn't work. Now the funny thing is, with Arthur's powers and the plasma, that's what was interfering with her electricity, because she said that it went into their nervous system, through their brain or whatever, through their nervous system. And with Arthur using the plasma, that kind of interfered because, the plasma is kind of different from your typical fire. And that was cool because when we saw Maki try to use her little thingamabobs to intervene, she used the electricity to short those out and just knock them down. So it was nice for them to have one person that could really just avert her whole little electricity thing, and that was Arthur. And I love seeing Arthur and Shinra's moment this episode. Arthur was devastated to find out Shinra had been stabbed with a hole in his chest, and he couldn't move because Shinra was still talking a little bit. He was like, "Hush," or "Shut up," and he was like, "I'll be the one to destroy you, Akuma." And it was so crazy, and I love their relationship, man. And Arthur was pissed that Shinra was this hurt, and he was gonna get her, but he could. There's so much going on with her, and they didn't really explain a lot. They just gave us a little taste, and I'm okay with that for now. You got to give me more later. But this whole time we were dealing with the memories and Shinra's feelings, and Sho registered to all of that, and that's what I'm super hyped about. So after they escape, we learned that the evangelist and her whole crew has been the ones that's been making the earthquakes all over town. And I don't know if anybody else caught it when they were escaping the whole nether. Did you guys notice that all of the white clads had vanished? In all of the places where they were knocked out from battle with the 8th Company, they were gone. None of them were there anymore. So that was smooth. I don't know whether they woke up or the evangelist and her people kind of collected them, but they were all gone. So then we have Captain Obi and everyone. They're just devastated looking at Shinra being stabbed and him just in agony. So they rushed him to the hospital, and Captain Nobody's like, well, we got to take him to see her. And I'm like, who is her? So then we find out that the 6th Captain and the 6th Company is a hospital that's run by the Soul. So the 1st Company and the 6th Company are mainly operated by the Soul. Everyone else, the 8th Company is independent and it's for the people. The 5th Company is the scientific ward or whatever. But the 6th and the 1st are actually done and operated solely by people that's working directly in togetherness with the Soul, and that is Captain Burns and Captain Huang, or Huang, how you want to say her name. And I'm gonna be real, 100%. I'm kind of feeling Captain Huang. I mean, she doing it for your boy, if I'm being real. But we got to see her powers this episode, and she's a doctor. I did not expect that, but now knowing that she's working at a hospital, but she's a doctor, and her pyrokinetic powers allow her to heal pretty much any sickness. And if she's healing someone with pyrokinetics, along with their flame, it kind of amps up their powers and kind of rejuvenates them a lot more. So her powers are actually really, really cool. But with her powers doing that, I can see why the Soul is kind of in so much power, if you understand what I'm coming from. Because with someone like that on their side, and then the 1st Company operating the church with Leonard Burns and the priest, the Soul has a lot of power. But before I go anywhere else, I also want to touch on the fact of the Haumea or whatever chick. She just went into a whole thing telling us what the evangelist wants. They wanted to destroy the earth. They want to recreate another great cataclysm, and this time do it right, because they felt like it wasn't done right the first time. So they want to recreate another one and just probably destroy the earth and kill a whole bunch of people on the other hand. So, last time I mentioned that, well, maybe they have, their ideals are a little different, but maybe they just kind of want to save the people. I was completely wrong. They want to kill people, and that is the end of the story. There's no justifying it. No. They just want to kill people. But then we also have Captain Obi kind of breaking down the whole thing and telling Captain Huang that the 8th Company, we fought the evangelist. They're the ones setting off the earthquakes, and about the Adola burst and the Adola link and everything. And she was like, well, tell me more after I save Shinra. So then after all of that, we see Shinra healing and everything nicely. And he wakes up, and in comes Leonard Burns. And Leonard Burns tells him that, he just came to check on him. And Shinra was like, well, why are you checking on a 2nd grade firefighter from the 8th Company? He was like, I just came to talk. So then they go out, they start talking outside and everything. And Leonard Burns busts out and tells him that he's sorry, but he knew the whole time that Sho wasn't dead, where he was, and everything that happened from jump. And the reason he didn't tell Shinra was because Shinra would go and try to find him, and something like what happened today would happen. He would get hurt, injured, or almost dead. And Shinra was like, well, you should have told me because I'm not the same as I was back then. But Leonard Burns made a valid point. You barely escaped with your life this time. So me telling you earlier would have literally really gotten you killed. But then this man, the sad thing is that he knew the whole time. The whole time. And I agree with him keeping it secret because there's no way Shinra could have handled it going through life. Well, okay, I got to go save Sho. But he had a miserable life after he thought his brother and his mother was dead. People ridiculed him. I mean, that's real life. People are going to ridicule you regardless. But they ridiculed him saying that he killed his family, and he didn't. But that made him the person who he is today. But I also agree with Leonard Burns that if I told you earlier, it really wouldn't have helped you. But then at the end, Shinra was pissed, man. He was like, well, you should have told me. And he was like, I'm not the same as I was back then. And he was finna attack him. And Leonard Burns just transformed. And like, his powers look super cool. Last time, all we saw was him just use, like at the fire selection thing, we saw him just tease. Like, he was just stomping out some fires, or he was just moving and stuff. But this time, it was like he transformed his whole body into like a Super Saiyan fire aura. It was fantastic, man. But what I'm saying, this episode was completely different, and no one was prepared. I wasn't, so I can just imagine how everyone else felt. No one was prepared. No one, man. This was crazy. That's everything that I think happened, man. And I'm super excited, and I'm gonna be real. Everybody else may be all over Maki, the sister, Princess Hibana, and everything, but I'm over here. I'm really fawning over Captain Huang. If I'm just being honest. This is your What Incredible, man. Don't forget to smash the like button. You can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them. And subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. And remember that anime matters, anime is greatness, and anime is life. And Fire Force is bringing the heat. Peace out, man.